we're going to move over to fantasy predictions because everyone loves fantasy football. Well, maybe not everyone, but we love fantasy football. And we are just going to discuss, since it's very early, we'll discuss who we think our top 10 players are.
Before you get into that, because for me, it was very hard. So we're doing our top 10 players in the draft. So for me, it was very hard to narrow down to 10 people. So for 10, I have like 3 people. So
oh my God.
If you want to give honorable mentions.
No. I mean, you can, but before we even get into this, I want to ask my question.
Okay, yeah.
Is training camp too long?
Is training camp too long?
I thought of this earlier. I was just like, because Ryan Jensen got hurt today, as many of you may have seen. It's like day 1 or day 2, and someone's already getting hurt. Ryan Jensen, he's a top 10 center in the league. You're losing a top 10 center. It's not even August yet.
Right.
So I mean, at a certain point, I mean, I know you need to like have a period where you ramp up, but do we really need what's like? It's like a month and almost a half before the season starts. It is a month.
I mean, they have preseason though in a couple weeks.
I feel like
I think it's good because they need to get back into football shape, like conditioning and stuff like that. Like a lot of players come in and they're not exactly.
I definitely think it's good for the rookies. The veterans. It's just iffy with, especially after last year, J.K. Dobbins. Even in the preseason, should veterans play in the preseason at all? I mean, technically, it wasn't really a veteran. He's second year,
yeah.
But
I mean, you already know what.
Why would you put a starter in a preseason game? Is the question. Like,
for as long as they did. I mean, I don't have a problem with having your starters in the game for like a drive or 2.
I mean, he was only in the game for a drive or 2.
No, I'm pretty sure that injury happened in like the second quarter.
No, it was the first quarter.
Oh, was it?
It was literally like the first drive of the game. He went down.
I mean, I feel like that's something they do so that they can get some in-game action because it's hard to simulate that.
Yeah. So that is what John Harbaugh said. But I mean, I just feel like training camp is like a weird topic. Like, you obviously need it, but it's just hard seeing people get hurt so quickly.
I mean, these freak injuries can happen at any time, so it's kind of just like, I mean, I feel like it's a nature of the sport. Like it just happens. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I don't know how you can solve the problem.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that, I suppose, because there's no real answer to the question.
just a topic for discussion.
See if people can say what they think. We'll see what you think. Okay, so I'm going to say my top 10 because mine's cut and dry. I mean, my top 10 is going to be way different than your top 10 because I did not go at all.
Like
a normal top 10, you know?
So I was thinking we would just like trade off. So you would, or do you want to just give your list?
No, we can do that. Okay.
So starting at 10?
No. I want to say my list.
From 1 to 10?
No, I'm going to do 10 to 1.
Okay.
And number 10, Joe Mixon.
Okay.
As we said before, and I'm going to give explanations for each one because I have explanations for each one.
Okay.
Joe Mixon, 10. It's because the Bengals O-line is elite. They're going to be so much covering Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Ward. Honestly, Joe Mixon could be way higher. I just don't like Joe Mixon because I'm a Ravens fan. But that's beside the point. I think he could potentially finish as RB1 this year. I think he could finish as just player 1 in general, not RB1.
Well, I don't think he's
other than the quarterback. Sorry, other than the quarterbacks.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Joe Mixon will be 10. He obviously could be much higher, but again, the bias. 9, Cooper Kupp. The top receiver never repeats. Honestly, I think there's a chance Cooper Kupp doesn't finish in the top 10 at all. I think he may just be a very mid receiver. They added Allen Robinson. He's going to take a lot of targets. And I feel like at this point, like, you have to somewhat adjust to Cooper Kupp. Like, teams are going to try to take him away. Like, you saw eventually teams started taking away Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Like, they figured out how to shut that down. So I'm assuming people are going to figure out Cooper Kupp eventually. Obviously, can't shut down his route running. He's very good at it. But 8, Jamar Chase. That Bengals offense can't stop it. Jamar Chase is an amazing route runner. He's just like Cooper Kupp. He's amazingly talented. Not much to say about him that I didn't say about Joe Mixon. I didn't underrank him, though. I do like Jamar Chase, even though I went to LSU. Screw LSU. Number 7, Derrick Henry. That is much lower than normal, but Derrick Henry is getting up there in age, and I do think they're going to try to overuse him early because they lost A.J. Brown, and I think that's going to hurt him very badly. And honestly, without A.J. Brown, they're really not that scary, so it's even easier to just commit everything to Derrick Henry. It's not that teams don't do that already. 6. And 6 and 5, we have 2 Vikings. We have Dalvin Cook and then Justin Jefferson. Dalvin is, if he stays healthy, Dalvin is obviously like one of the best.
So who's 6 and who's 5?
Dalvin, so I said Dalvin first.
So Dalvin's 6, Jefferson's 5.
Yeah, Dalvin 6, Jefferson's 5. Dalvin, I think 6 is the ceiling. I don't see Dalvin doing any better than that because I just don't. I don't see him staying healthy for that long, realistically. But this is best case scenario. So I mean, he's obviously a very skilled running back. His brother is
James Cook.
looking amazingly skilled too. He's got amazing burst, but that's beside the point. That's for the players to watch section of this. Justin Jefferson, I think he could hit 2K this year. I mean, Justin Jefferson's just like Jamar Chase. I think this is going to be Justin Jefferson's like breakout wide receiver 1 year. And I only think that he's going to do it for Jamar Chase just because he's older. Jamar Chase is in line next year. Fourth, a little bias here, Naji Harris. I think that the Steelers are much better on offense than they were last year. I just think they're more capable without having freaking 40-year-old Big Ben throwing the ball. Remove the 3, Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, we've all seen what he can do. Not much to say about that. He stays healthy, he's going to be very good. 2, Austin Eckler. The Chargers offense, just like the Bengals offense, is very potent, very deadly, and I think it'll benefit him immensely. You can't just commit to stop Austin Eckler. He can run on you, he can catch on you, and he hit points anyway. And all the other players, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, they'll all do stuff on their own too. And then last we have Jonathan Taylor. He's at his point that Derrick Henry was at a few years ago, where he's just kind of unstoppable in my opinion. And he's so young that the injuries aren't going to get to him yet, hopefully. And I just see him having another extremely dominant year. And that's my list. Top 10. And what is yours?
So for 10, I
What was your honorable mention?
Well, I'm going to get into that. So for 10, I had a hard time narrowing it down. So for these 3 guys, I kind of have it interchangeable for 10. So for me, it was between Stefan Diggs, Devante Adams, and Joe Mixon. The reason why I think Stefan Diggs, I mean, he's a wide receiver 1 on one of the best offenses in the NFL. Devante Adams, arguably the best receiver in the NFL. The reason why he's not higher is because I think he has a worse quarterback this year. Not to take anything away from Derek Carr, but he's not playing with Aaron Rodgers anymore. Although he won't have as much attention since he will have Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller, but that could take targets away from him as well. So that's why I don't have him ranked as the top receiver in the draft. And then Joe Mixon, for all the reasons that Joey already said. I mean, great player, great team, great offensive line. The only thing is, last year I just don't know if he can like replicate it. And
he's got to stay healthy.
And he's got to stay healthy, and also he's not a guy that's going to get you a lot of receptions. And he can catch, but he doesn't. Like, the Bengals have shown that they're not interested in giving him passing work.
Yeah.
And I did my rankings
mostly based on Perrine, however.
Yeah, I did my rankings most based on half PPR, so I did factor in.
Before you get into 9, obviously you let me go through my list. I just want, because it's an honorable mention, I wanted to question Stefan Diggs. Do you think he's like last year? He definitely dipped from.
I think he started off slow. But
so do you think he's going to do well the whole year, or he's going to?
I think he has potential. I mean, like, playing with Josh Allen and that offense, they're a very pass-heavy offense. They score a lot of points. I think Stefan Diggs, there is a chance in his range of outcomes that he could finish as the wide receiver 1. Like, would not be surprised if he finished as a wide receiver.
I don't know that much, but
it's very possible.
I would say he finished wide receiver 3.
I think it's possible.
I don't think it's possible.
I have him ranked as, I have 3 receivers ranked.
I just think
I have 3 other receivers in my top 10, but playing in that offense with his skill, like with his capabilities, I don't think it's out of the range of outcomes.
I just don't think it's possible to finish ahead of Jefferson and Chase. Other than that, yes, I would say he's going to do extremely well. But I'll let you get into your
number 9.
I won't stop you again unless you say something blasphemous. But just continue.
I mean, you might find some of this blasphemous. I don't know. It's the whole point. I mean, I like to talk, and I'm fine with you if you have something to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I have Jamar Chase at 9. I kind of valued running backs. So mostly running backs are towards the top, but I have Jamar Chase at 9. And I mean, honestly, I just have 2 other receivers higher, and I kind of think that running backs kind of are more valuable in fantasy. So for that reason, I kind of have my rankings reflecting that. I don't know what else to say. I think he's one of the best receivers in the league. I have him top 3. So in terms of receivers, number 8, I have Naji Harris. The reason why I have him at 8 is because I think their offense, like I said earlier, the quarterback is still a question mark for me. So I just don't know how good the offense is going to be in terms of his like touchdown upside. So that's pretty much it for Naji Harris. We all know he's a great player. He can catch the ball. Yeah, and I don't know how good their offensive line is. So it's bad. Yeah. So, and then number 7, I have Justin Jefferson. Probably could be a little bit higher, but like I said, I have running backs higher. Justin Jefferson. And there's really nothing to add to what Joey said. I mean, he's insane.
It was in the year to break out. I mean, he did last year, but he's at that point.
And I have seen reports that the Vikings are going to be more pass heavy. So
I hope so.
Honestly, I have Dalvin Cook a little bit higher. I probably could have dropped him, but who knows? This is kind of just, you never know. Fantasy is kind of just
luck.
Yes.
Sporadic.
Number 6, I have Derrick Henry. Like Joey said, I don't think he's going to be as good as he has been in years past, coming off that injury with no AJ Brown, and kind of takes away the passing threat. So teams are, I think, he's just going to stack the box. It's going to be tough for him to produce as much as he did in years past. Number 5, I have Cooper Kupp. Wouldn't be shocked if he had regression, but just based on how he played last year, I can't justify him not being the first receiver taken off the board. And I don't think Allen Robinson coming in is going to hurt him, because they did get rid of Robert Woods, and I don't know, Odell Beckham still hasn't re-signed, so who knows with that.
Oh, so who's got what, Van Jefferson?
Yeah.
So it's those 3.
Yeah. And I mean, Cooper Kupp is one of those guys that I think Sean McVay schemes ways to get him open. So sometimes it's really one of those things where you can't even really cover him that well. Like, so yeah, Cooper Kupp, I think 5 I wouldn't be shocked if he's not wide receiver 1, but just like I said,
it's unlikely he is.
Yeah, it's hard to replicate that type of season. I mean, that was arguably the best season for a wide receiver of all time.
For sure it was. Didn't he get the most yards?
I don't know.
I hope so. He had an extra game.
Actually, did he pass Megatron? I don't know if he did.
I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Search that up.
I'll search it while Zach finishes his list.
Okay. Number 4, I have Dalvin Cook, and I have him at 4 because it's Dalvin Cook, his ability. I did my rankings assuming players are going to stay healthy. Obviously, you can't really predict injuries. I mean, Dalvin Cook does miss games. Every year he does miss games, but I just think he's Dalvin Cook, and he's going to be great. But with the reports of them being pass heavy, I probably could have switched him and Jefferson, but I still think Dalvin Cook's going to be ranked higher at the end of the year than Derrick Henry if he stays healthy.
Okay, to answer our question, he did not pass Calvin.
Okay, that's
Calvin had 17 more yards. But amazingly, Calvin Johnson had 23 less receptions, and he still had that many yards. And that is why Calvin Johnson is probably the best receiver ever, other than maybe like Jerry Rice. But you can continue.
Number 3, I have Austin Eckler. I don't really have much to say about it. Great offense, great player. He's gonna eat up, I think. The only reason I don't have him higher than the next 2 guys is just because I think the top 2 have a higher ceiling than Eckler does. I mean, Eckler's ceiling realistically could be running back 1, but I just think CMC, who I have at 2, if he stays healthy, he's a league winner. I mean, this guy averages 25 points a game if he plays. So, and then Jonathan Taylor I have at 1 just because I think he's the safest pick. It's really hard to choose. Like for fantasy this year, it's like hard because all the running backs have something that you wouldn't necessarily like about them. Like ideally, I would like to choose Christian McCaffrey first overall, but the injuries just keep coming every year.
And Taylor has nothing that you won't like about him.
Well, Jonathan Taylor, it's just tough because they have other guys too.
Other guys?
I mean, not other guys necessarily, but I'm saying like I just don't know how his receiving, like his how many catches is he gonna get?
I mean, that's irrelevant when you rush for 200 yards a game. It's like Derrick Henry when he was popping. It doesn't matter.
If I could guarantee Christian McCaffrey's playing every game, I'm taking Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, so I mean, you do have the receptions, but Just to run through, I want to run through one more time. Just say it like who I picked and like in what order, just like really quick.
Go 1 through 10.
Yeah. Okay. So 1, I have Jonathan Taylor. Oh, so these are our top 10, obviously, fantasy players. I'm just going through the list real quick.
Okay.
Top 10 fantasy players. 1, Jonathan Taylor. 2, Austin Eckler. 3, Christian McCaffrey. 4, Naji Harris. 5, Justin Jefferson. 6, Dalvin Cook. 7, Derrick Henry. 8, Jamar Chase. 9, Cooper Kupp. 10, Joe Mixon. Those are my top 10. Disagree if you want. Zach, say yours.
Okay, 1, Jonathan Taylor. 2, Christian McCaffrey. 3, Austin Eckler. 4, Dalvin Cook. 5, Cooper Kupp. 6, Derrick Henry. 7, Justin Jefferson. 8, Naji Harris. 9, Jamar Chase. And 10, I'll go with Stefan Diggs.
And that is our top 10 fantasy players. So now I want to move on to our players to watch. Do you have any players to watch, or should I just say mine?
I have players to watch, but I also have like situations to watch. So the first like situation that I have to
You
watch
can go first, whoever you want.
is the Seattle backfield. Obviously, with Chris Carson retiring, that kind of opens up. And Rashad Penny, while he is a very talented player, it seems like he's injured every year.
Glass.
Yeah. So that backfield, I know they have a good young running back. His name is escaping my mind.
It's Kenneth Walker, and Kenneth Walker is going to be a beast. Kenneth Walker is my first player to watch. Kenneth Walker is going to take over the backfield. I think even if Penny stays healthy, Penny's dead. Like, it's gone. He will get the receiving downs always, because Penny is a far better receiver than Kenneth Walker.
I mean, but Penny is a very good rusher too. We saw that last year when Carson was there.
Like that. That's how good Kenneth Walker is, in my opinion. Like he's just gonna like. There's nothing you can do to stop it at this point, in my opinion. Once Carson left, Carson like easily had seniority, and Carson was really a proven runner because he did it for several seasons. I mean, Penny's, you don't know if he's going to stay healthy, so you don't really want to use him as much. It'd make more sense to put him as a second running back. And 2, I mean, it just works out perfectly that Penny is so good at receiving. I mean, he was a kick returner, punt returner for a little bit, I'm pretty sure.
It could be one of those. It could be one of those situations like you have in Denver with Javonte Williams.
Exactly.
Where it's like a 1A, 1B.
But it's going to be the same where one slowly sucks out the other. Like Javonte definitely took over by the end, and he's going to be the lead in Denver this year. But
I don't know. But the thing is, though, like Javonte Williams, I still like. I know this is kind of getting off track, but Javonte Williams' ADP is a little high for me, considering I don't think that he's going to be a workhorse by the end of the season. Like I still like, as long as Melvin Gordon is healthy, he's still going to get a substantial amount of carries.
It was more, actually last year was like 45-55 in favor of Melvin Gordon, but I think it's gonna be flipped this year. I think it's gonna be 55
right
Javonte, 45 Melvin, and it could be like 60-40. But I mean, obviously, like you said, it's still gonna be close enough that.
And then who's the goal line back? That's the other thing.
Oh, it's Javonte.
I mean, Melvin Gordon has also been a pretty good goal line back.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want him there because I feel like a lot of injuries happen on the goal line, and Melvin Gordon is like, he does get hurt, and he's older.
It's tough though to know. I guess that's one of those things where you're just gonna have to wait for the season to start, and then you'll figure it out. So it's hard to project that type of thing.
Move on to the next situation. We'll call it situation to watch. This one is situation to watch. The Broncos receivers. They have Russell Wilson. You saw what he did with DK and Tyler Lockett. Obviously, you have to factor in the fact that one would always have a good game and the other wouldn't, which is not ideal. But if you guess right, one would get like 30 points and the other would get like 0, but that's irrelevant. So we have Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. I'm expecting DK, Lockett situation. Courtland Sutton goes up against the ball like DK. Lockett is an extremely good route runner, just like Jerry Jeudy is. Obviously, hopefully, Jerry Jeudy stays healthy. But I mean, do you have anything to say on that situation?
I think both are viable to have on your team. They're both good options to have on your team. I didn't have them on my list, but I do think that both of them should have good years. It could be one of those things like DK and Lockett where it's hard to find a game where they both, kind of popped off. But I think that they're both worth having on your roster. I think probably whichever one is going later is probably the better option value wise.
I mean, do you want to backtrack real quick and say like where you would take certain people? Like where would you take Kenneth Walker or Rashad Penny?
Well, just kind of, I don't really know the ADPs.
I know, but like it's
offhand.
just off of like your mental value. Like, what do you think? Obviously, we are not looking at anything exact right now, so this is not going to be perfect. But
I
just a
think
guess.
Rashad Penny is probably going to have a higher ADP than what's his name, Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker, yes.
Yeah, I think Rashad Penny is going to have a higher ADP just
So-
because he's got more experience. He's more well known to
If
the.
you just had to guess around, just take around.
I would assume that Rashad Penny's probably going to be a late third, somewhere between late third and mid fourth round pick is my guess.
I can see fourth.
Kenneth Walker probably like a sixth, maybe seventh.
I'm thinking like a seventh.
That's my best guess.
It may be like a fifth and a seventh to me.
It really kind of, I don't really know. I usually draft based on ADP when I'm actually in the draft. So it's kind of one of those things. I mean, obviously ADP isn't the be all, like the be all end all or whatever, but
yeah,
you gotta be able to know, okay, this guy's ADP is here, so I can wait for him. Or even if there's a guy you think's better, but he's later, you can take this guy now and you know that the next guy will be there later. But also if it's one of those things where you can wait to get a piece of it, like for instance with the Judy and Cortland Sutton, the Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy situation, it's like whichever one of them has the higher ADP, I would pass on them and take the later guy because.
But both their like on NFL.com, the rankings have both of them at like 80s, 90s. So that's what it's like. That's like 7th, 8th round, 8th, 9th.
I mean, that's pretty good value in my opinion.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton in 7th round. That's like jump on that.
I also think Jerry Judy's a very talented.
Oh yeah. Both of them will have their games in my opinion. Okay, who's your second?
Players to watch. This is an actual player. I think I put Aaron Jones. It's kind of obvious he's going to be very good this year, but I mean, like he's a big name, so it's like, oh yeah, Aaron
AJ
Jones.
Dillon though, like what?
Well, let me explain. Okay, I don't necessarily think that his rushing is going to be the best it's been in his career, but think about it. There's a lot of targets gone out of this offense. I would not be shocked if they have Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon on the field at the same time for some snaps. So for that reason, I mean, Aaron Jones is probably going to be Rodgers' most trusted target in the offense at this point.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think his receiving upside is very high, and he's still Aaron Jones, and he's very efficient. He doesn't even need a lot of touches. Like 15 touches is plenty for him, and he'll be able to do a lot with that. I mean, AJ Dillon is going to improve on what he did last year. He's a great player.
I think he's going to take over.
Maybe the rushing. I don't know. I mean, like it could be even if it is a 60-40 split in favor of AJ Dillon for rushes, the receiving upside for Aaron Jones, I think, just makes him a player to watch. I think I agree with his ADP falling or his ranking falling. Obviously, their offense is not going to be as good. Plus, you have AJ Dillon taking more opportunities, so it makes sense. But I'm just saying, I think Aaron Jones is going to have a great season, and I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up out producing what people think.
Gotcha. Okay, let me say my third now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So my third, I'm just going to say it's 3 different rookies. First, we have James Cook, an extremely capable receiving back. He was very good at Georgia. His brother is amazing, obviously, Dalvin Cook. And he's just in the perfect situation in Buffalo where they're running backs. I mean, Devin Singletary's good, but I mean, he's definitely had his flaws. He fumbled quite a bit at a point there. And then Zach Moss. Is Zach Moss even on the team anymore? I don't know what happened to Zach Moss. I think he's still on the team. Zach Moss was meh. Both of them, no one controlled it. I mean, so I just think he's going to take over. He's so explosive. He's an extremely good running back. So he probably, other than Kenneth Walker, is the biggest running back to watch. And then we have 2 receivers who are just in perfect situations. Then Skye Moore on the Chiefs. He's got Juju to go against. Obviously, Travis Kelce's command his things. But Skye Moore is extremely good route running. He's extremely fast. They got their speed back. Speed didn't go anywhere. So if he can just catch the ball, basically, is all he's got to do. Sometimes he was prone to drops. He's going to do extremely well. And then Christian Watson for the Packers, he's in the perfect situation. Like, can you even name the wide receiver 2 for the Packers? Or wide receiver 1, I guess.
Allen
Allen Lazard, exactly.
And then they still have Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
I think so. That's the point. Like, these are people you can beat out very easily for the wide receiver 1 position. Allen Lazard is actually a very solid wide receiver. But I mean, he may not be on another team, and he has Aaron Rodgers his whole career, so it's a little different.
It's also going to be interesting how he does without Devante Adams on the other side.
I think he'll do fine regardless. But we'll move on to unless you have anything else to say about the rookies.
The only thing I have to say about James Cook, I think if he's on the field a lot, then I mean, if he's getting those checkdowns. It's just that they're just not a very run-heavy team. That's the only thing.
That's the perfect thing for him, then.
Right.
He's a receiving back. He's so good at catching.
Zach Moss is actually a solid receiving back as well. So who knows? And it could be one of those things where they're reluctant to go with a rookie. It depends on the team. I know some teams like to phase them in.
More than willing to
maybe by the end of the season. By the end of the season, he takes over.
Yeah.
But I don't really have much more to say. For another player to watch, this is another big name that I have, but I was looking at rankings and I see DeAndre Hopkins really low. I know he's going to be suspended for 6 games. So I mean, he's, in my opinion, it's not one of those things where he's injured like Michael Thomas last year. It's DeAndre Hopkins. He's suspended for 6 games, and I know Hollywood Brown just got injured. I don't actually know what his injury was, but
it's non-football injury.
Right. So I don't actually know how long he's going to be out, or if he's even going to miss. Yeah, I don't know. But DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers in the NFL when he's on the field. So I think he's worth stashing if you can get him at a decent.
I think it's pretty late, probably like 4th, 5th round.
Right. I mean, that's you stash him on your bench until he comes back.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like he's gonna have good competition for receptions. Like obviously they have James Conner, who's not the best receiving back, but he's pretty decent at it. They'll have Brown, they'll have Zach Ertz, they'll have Hopkins.
Yeah, but he's still DeAndre Hopkins.
Obviously, I mean, he's older now.
He's older now, but I think he's still.
Is he hitting his Julio years?
I don't think so.
He's not there yet?
I don't think so. And he hasn't had the injuries.
Yeah, he was injured for a good bit last season.
That's fair. But I still think D-Hop and that at that point in the draft is worth taking and stashing.
I agree with that. Okay, I'm going to move over to my last one. It's another receiver, another Buffalo Bill, Gabriel Davis. Gabriel Davis is the firm number 2 for the Bills now. No Cole Beasley's gone. Gabriel Davis, I think he averaged like 15 points over the last 4 games last year when Cole Beasley was just basically irrelevant. I think he's going to continue that. I mean, Stefan Diggs. He's going to take his receptions, but that also means Stefan Diggs is going to take coverage, and obviously you're going to guard Stefan Diggs over Gabriel Davis, no matter how good he is. So if he's half decent, he's going to demand.
Emmanuel Sanders is also gone, but they did bring in Jamison Crowder.
Crowder spends half the freaking time on the ground or on the bench.
I'm just saying there are guys there.
But Gabriel Davis he's going to pop off. He is my number 1 guy to watch. I say this for last for a reason. I think he doesn't have a great ADP. You're going to get him for a steal, and I think he could be a top 10 receiver, honestly.
Top 10.
Top 10.
That's a take.
Gabriel Davis, top 10 receiver. You heard it here first.
That's a take. I don't really have much to say, but top 10, that's the take right there. My last thing, it's not really, well, it's a situation to watch, but for me, it's a situation to stay away from. And as much as this hurts me to say as a Ravens fan, I will not be drafting a Ravens running back this year. Stay away from Ravens.
You wouldn't take Gus Edwards in like the 11th round.
That's about like I said.
That's where his ADP is. He is at like 130.
It's one of those things where I would take the guy, whoever between J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins is at like the 30s.
Between J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Mike Davis, whoever is the latest guy, that's who I'm taking if I want a piece of the backfield. It kind of depends on how my draft is going. If I have to, I would not want to be reliant on one of these Ravens running backs. J.K. and Gus coming off pretty bad injuries last year. And then just too many mouths to feed in that backfield. That's my thing. Even though the Ravens do run the ball a lot, it's just like, how are you going to, every week is going to be different. Like there's no way to know who's going to score, who's going to have more rushes, who's going to get the carry. Like, it's just like, I'd rather in a perfect world, I'd like to just stay away from that backfield.
Of course. But like I said, if Gus does go where his ADP is, like it's like hundreds. I'm taking Gus in the 10th or 11th round.
Right. I mean, at that point,
if Gus plays, Gus is gonna be good.
Yeah. I mean,
he'd be like what? You're like third, fourth back, probably fourth.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not horrible. I mean, like if JK and
he's going early. He's early.
No, I'm saying if they get hurt, then Gus is a great play at that point.
Of course. I mean, JK, do not take JK Dobbins. JK Dobbins is extremely high. He's like top 10 running backs ranked on most places because they assume he's going to be healthy.
He's early third, I think.
That's crazy for something you don't know what's going to
be. Even if he stays healthy the whole season, it's just. Like I said, there's too many good players in the backfield that it's like, or at least just him and Gus. And then I do think that, I mean, they signed Mike Davis early for a reason. And then you still they drafted a running back too. I don't know if Justice Hill makes the team. He might as a special teamer. I really don't know. So, and I don't know. And they're both starting the season on the PUP list. So it's kind of just like, I would just stay away from it if I have the opportunity to.
So just to recap, our situations to watch we have Seattle's backfield, we have Denver's receivers, we have stay away from the Ravens running backs, we have Gabriel Davis finishing top 10. It's going to happen.
That's his take.
Yeah, that's my take. And then we have James Cook, Skye Moore, and Christian Watson. Those three rookies could have breakout seasons very early.
And I just had Aaron Jones and D-Hop. I know they're big names, but I think they might be a little undervalued.
And that is our players to watch for fantasy. We are going to